understanding users' needs, motivations, and frustrations, what makes them feel sad, happy, or have fun, is crucial for creating valuable content. And I think this is where SEO should experiment and work together with UX to basically create content for real people. I'm Sanja Markovic, and this is SEO in 2026.
Sanja, what's your number one SEO tip for 2026?
Integrate SEO and UX to build content strategies for real people.
Integrate SEO and UX to build content strategies for real people. So you mean that it's not necessary to think about algorithms, to think about bots crawling your site at all? All you really focus on is real humans and real people, and you're optimized for them?
Well, I think technical SEO, of course, it's an essential aspect. But I think that especially nowadays with all this noise about AI, we're kind of a little bit forgetting that content is still king and that we still need to create content for real people and not search engines. Yeah, I think that basically creating content for real people is the baseline for building authority on the internet, because if we just create a content that is focused on search engine, who is going to read it? Who is going to share it? So basically, I think that we need to focus on really understanding what users need in order to create content that is for real people, that people will actually read, like, engage with, and share. And this is, I think, the basics for building authority nowadays.
Is it possible to create content for both humans and bots at the same time?
I think so. I mean, I think that in general, there are certain rules on the SEO side that we need to stick to. But on the other hand, we also need to really provide content that a real human really reads. Because if we don't do that, our content will not perform well. Because in the end, search engines and AI agents, they also learn based on user experience. So if no one is reading our content, we are basically not going to be there.
So what does people first content actually look like?
Well, people first content is content that, for example, okay, I will just give this example. If I'm searching for Avril Lavigne conspiracy theory because I want to read more about what's about this conspiracy theory and understand a little bit better what happened, I would say that people first content will not start with a heading tag, what is a conspiracy theory? It would start with kind of more giving real information about what happens. It would not be oriented on SEO entirely, but it would rather provide information that I am actually interested in.
Is this not negative for targeting keyword phrases and giving you less of an opportunity to rank in search engines and drive more real humans to it?
I don't think so, because I think that we are moving away from the focus for entirely focusing on keywords when it comes to SEO. I mean, they're still there, of course. I'm not saying they're not. I'm not saying that we should completely neglect all the SEO practices. I'm just saying that there are some other aspects that we use in UX that we can use to basically complement the information and the research that we do with SEO. I mean, I'm an SEO specialist. I would never say, yeah, we should just forget about all of these years of SEO practices that we'll be following throughout the years. But I think that nowadays, especially with chatbots and how search is becoming more conversational, I think that we also need to evolve a little bit with this and include some additional research in addition to the research that we already do as an SEO, so that we can create this content that is called for content for real people.
So how can SEO and UX work together to build smarter content strategies to hopefully make people more sticky on our websites and get them recommending what we do to their friends and colleagues?
Well, SEO tells us with SEO, we get an insight into search patterns. We identify keywords, we analyze search intent, we analyze the SERP, we analyze the competitors to get the data to create content strategies. But on the other hand, we are missing this kind of from insight from the real users. So this is where I think UX research can help, because UX research dives into user behavior, and it can explain why users behave the way they do, what are their frustrations, what are their motivations, and this kind of information can help us complement the data that we have with the SEO analysis in order to create kind of more informed content strategy.
Okay. So ideally, I guess, would you get content teams, SEO teams, and UX teams sitting down once a quarter to actually refine and determine what the next 3 months content strategy should be?
Yes, I think, yeah, I actually think that in general SEO teams should not work in vacuum, and that they should be integrated with the UX team. And I mean, in the case that there is a UX team, and I know that this is not the ideal world where everyone has budget for everything, but ideally, if there is a UX team, I think that the SEO team should work with them to get the data from their research on the users, so that they can identify the key user personas they need to address with the content they will be creating, so that they can identify what are the users interested in, what drives their behavior online, what are their frustrations that we can address through our content, what motivates them that we can also address through the content. So I think in ideal world, yes, they should sit together. But I think that also in the case that there is no possibility for SEOs that work with the UX teams, there are also some other ways that we can conduct research. We can run polls or surveys. We can use the data that we could find, for instance, from online forums that are related to our niche, or even Reddit. We can use it to get some information on what are users asking for, what kind of language they use when they talk about topics related to our niche. And this is, again, not just from this aspect of understanding what the real user needs are, but also to grasp a little bit more the terminology they use when they talk about our products or services or topics related to a niche. Because as search is becoming more conversational, I think that we also need to expand keyword research into this area of, understanding a little bit more the vocabulary and the overall how users express, and what questions they're asking when they're talking about subjects related to our industry.
So you say that SEO reveals what and how people search, and UX answers why people behave the way they do. Can you maybe give an example of how to incorporate this why people behave the way they do into a piece of content, and how specifically UX has enhanced a piece of content?
Well, for example, if let's say that we are going to create a product page, right? And we have the product name, we have the keywords, we know that we need to include this keyword in the page title, in the meta description, in the heading tags. But on the other hand, if we do the research with the users and they tell us, we really appreciate transparency, and we actually like to feel when we are purchasing or browsing online products, we like to feel as if this is real life experience. So we appreciate if there is information on the fabric, on the instructions of how to take care of the fabric. If there is detailed information about delivery, about the cost, then we can also include all of these data and create kind of a template that we will follow, having in mind everything that user said, to offer them all the information they need to see on our landing page, so that they can have this kind of real life closer experience. Maybe they can say that they would appreciate if the clothing pieces are worn by kind of not models, but people that they can resemble to more, because then they could have a better impression of how something would suit them. So this is something we could incorporate. But basically, yeah, we can include this kind of more user-oriented information combined with our SEO practices and blend it all together and then track how the progress.
So you also say that you can conduct online forums analysis using AI to assist with better understanding your audience. What tools do you actually prefer to use to do this kind of research?
Well, I was personally using AI for this kind of analysis. I would say we could use AI tools to assess comments regarding certain topic or questions people are asking around certain topic on niche forums or Reddit. But there are also other tools that we can use, such as Answer the Public, also Ask. They are also providing information around conversational and long tail questions users ask online. But yeah, apart from these two, I would say that from my experience, what I have used by up until now was basically kind of scraping the data from Reddit and from different forums to get an overview of what what our users are asking there.
And how do you go about scraping the data from forums or sites like Reddit?
Well, I was using tools like ChatGPT, Perplexity to do that.
Got you. Okay. Okay. So you're asking it to actually go there and actually better understand your audience. So you're selecting maybe a subreddit or a specific forum to analyze.
Yes, exactly. Or a specific forum that is related to that industry or a specific subreddit.
And how are you asking it to provide you with that information? Because obviously that's a lot of data. So what would be your preferred report that it produces for you?
Well, for it depends on really what I want to find out, but I would first ask to get an overview what are for instance users in Spain, what are their main concerns when they talk about acquiring driver's license in Spain? And then I would ask it to give me additional examples of users and specific comments so that I can also kind of review these comments on that topic.
Got you. Okay. So for specific examples of comments, and then you'd maybe have a list of perhaps 20 or so comments around a very specific topic, and then you'd incorporate comments and questions around that in the content that you produce.
Yes. Well, I would first identify, okay, what are the main topics that I can kind of extract from users' questions and from their frustrations or from their questions. And from there, I would look at the comments. And then from there, I would kind of extract if there are multiple topics that I can then cover in my content to address these worries.
Sanja, what's the key takeaway from the tip you shared today?
Understanding users' needs, motivations, and frustrations, what makes them feel sad, happy, or have fun, is crucial for creating valuable content. And I think this is where SEO should experiment and work together with UX to basically create content for real people.
Sanja Markovic is a senior SEO specialist. Find out more over at seorita.com. Sanja, thanks so much for being part of SEO in 2026.
Thank you for having me.
I've been your host, David Bain. Get your copy of SEO in 2026, the book, over at seoin2026.com.